Hello, friends. Hello. What's up, good people? All right. Give me a quick second. I had to pin a quick comment. If you're here, say hey. So good to see you all. All right. If you're here, say hey. Let me know where you're logging in from. If you end up watching the replay of this convo, drop a hashtag replay in the comments. And y'all, I had to call a family meeting. Okay, it's been a little bit since I've gone live because we've been over here. It ain't been a while since I posted because y'all done seen me on the timeline, right? But lots of great things happening over this way. We've been busy in the most beautiful way, continuing to show up and support you all. And I wanted to go live and pull up and have a family meeting because today is Thursday. And on Monday, it was shared that this administration has paused about $6 billion of education funding. And I have gotten lots of feedback from folks in our community, and we need to have a family meeting and talk about this, okay? So for those who are new to my side of the internet, my name is Dr. Erica Jordan Thomas. I'm a former teacher, former school principal, turned full-time entrepreneur, currently running a multi-seven-figure business. And the work that me and my team do is we help educators package their brilliance into seven-figure education consulting businesses, because we believe that if anybody should be a millionaire, it should be an educator. And the best people positioned to run businesses are those who have ran classrooms, ran schools, and ran districts. So that is the work that we do, and we've been doing it for about 5 to 6 years now, helping educators build, grow, and scale education consulting businesses. I am here in Florida because I spent the last 2 days with our clients who are generating annual revenue around $500 million and above, talking some next level content to help them continue to grow and scale our business. And what came up in the retreat during that conversation was shifts people were processing around funding and budget in the education sector. And then someone just made a post in my Facebook group, which then kind of sparked some comments around how people are feeling and reacting to this current marketplace, the shifts that are happening, the budget cuts. And actually, let me reframe my language. The shifts in budget. I'm not going to say budget cuts. I'm going to say shift in budget. And I'm even starting to get some DMs, right? So I just wanted to come live and pull up and have a family meeting because I'm like, in the course of like 24 to 48 hours, like the number of people in person and virtually that have kind of wove like a pink flag, I'm like, yo, let's talk about it. Let's have a conversation. So I wanted to come on briefly. Elizabeth, I'm looking forward to seeing you Saturday. Looking forward to seeing you. But I wanted to come on briefly and have a family meeting, and I'll post the replay. Tag your friends, share this with your friends, tell them to come through, particularly your friends who are educators running businesses, who may have been sharing some, perspectives with you around fear, angst, regarding the marketplace, regarding the shifts in funding. I want to talk about, and I want to have a conversation about it. So let's first start here. So there's three things that I want to kind of go through, that I want to navigate, and I want to talk through together. And at any time during this conversation, if I say something that you can tap the heart on the bottom right hand side of your screen. If I say anything that resonates with you, that's helpful, gives me some feedback. And if you have any questions during our time together, please feel free to drop those into the chat, and I'll answer those for you. So let me start and frame the conversation here. Is it's interesting because I'm getting questions of like, well, what should I do? How should I navigate like this marketplace with, this announcement that happened on Monday? And to be clear, the announcement is that the Trump administration announced that they are pausing $6 billion of education funding. And people are, rightfully so, they're processing what that means. Business owners, education consultants are processing what that means. And it has come up for me in a few different forms of what should I do? How do I navigate this in business? And some of it is also like it's sparking some fear for people, right? And here's the first place where my mind went is I was like, I'm having deja vu. Because in February, when it was announced that the Department of Education was closing, I went live and literally broke down what this means for you as a business owner and how you should be navigating this marketplace. So it is July, and just 5 months ago, I went live to have this same conversation. And that conversation was sparked by all the changes that were happening in the U.S. Department of Education. It was being closed, and then they ruled it unconstitutional and opened it back up. So the first place that I want to start is, first off, feelings are absolutely valid. We're not going to have a conversation around ignoring your feelings, ignoring, whatever is coming up for you. We're not going to lead from that place. And just because this administration is leading with fear and scarcity does not mean that we have to. And to be very, very frank and direct with us as a community is this administration has only been in office for 6 months. And already there have been lots of the sky is falling, and we are only 6 months into 4 years. So part of where I want to start this conversation is there is a level of resilience and anchoredness that we have to have as business owners, or else you mentally are going to continue to struggle for the next 3.5 years, right? So part of it is, and I'm not saying that what's happening isn't serious. I'm not saying that you should be numb. That is absolutely not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is we cannot be reacting out of fear for every single thing that this administration does, because they're irresponsible, they're ignorant, they're not qualified. And so we are operating out of chaos right now. So 5 months ago, I did a live because the U.S. Department was closing down, and then it was deemed unconstitutional and reopened, right? So that just shows you how unstable this administration is, to where you cannot react to every single thing, or else just mentally, socially, emotionally, and spiritually, you ain't gonna make it, boo. So like, this is a season where every season you need to be anchored. Every season you need to have a spiritual practice that grounds you and affirms you. And in particular, in this season, you cannot be swayed by every single news headline. And again, I'm not saying you should go numb. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is I'm literally getting ready to have the same conversation I just had 5 months ago. And I'm not going to have it in another 5 months, right? Because some of this is like, it's armor season. You got to put on your armor. And this administration cannot dictate your life. It cannot dictate your emotions. It cannot dictate your sense of self, your sense of peace. You cannot lead from the same chaotic nature and unstable nature of this administration. Your business can't reflect it, right? So that's the first place where I want to start with this conversation. And if that hits for you, put an A as in apple in the chat of, I want to be able to put this in context, because I'm literally revisiting, and I have no problem revisiting the same conversation, but I'm just saying we can't just go with the tide, allow the headlines to influence how we're feeling, to be triggered by every single thing that happens that this administration does, because this administration is crazy, unqualified, completely unqualified, that you cannot be as reactive to this administration, because literally we are having deja vu from 5 months ago. And what we were talking about 5 months ago got reversed, right? So that's like place number one where I wanted to start this conversation is you have got to be anchored and cannot be swayed by the headlines. I'm not saying that doesn't mean that you need to change your business, and we're going to talk about that here in a second. I'm not saying that you need to rethink some things. I'm not saying that, again, you should go numb. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is we cannot afford as a people, as entrepreneurs, to feel like we are consistently in crisis. And I am not accepting the invitation to get on a roller coaster with this administration. I'm not accepting that, and neither should you. Okay? So that's where I want to frame this conversation. And I want to start there because we are 6 months into 4 years. And to put this in perspective, because some of the language that people are using is clients don't have the budget, and part of it is, and I talked about this 5 months ago, like you as a business owner have to be informed. You have to do your due diligence, right? To know the facts, because the language that people were using as they were, tapping into our community and leaning into like, how should I navigate this? People are using language as no funding, slashed, no budget. And I go and read the facts. And the facts is that funding has been paused. Not funding has been eliminated. Not funding has been squashed, right? The fact is that funding has been paused. Now, I don't know if that it's unpaused, reallocated, like we don't know, right? But I think that's the first part is like, we got to be really clear on facts. And even though your client might be saying they don't have the budget, that doesn't mean that money doesn't exist, right? That doesn't mean that they won't have the budget, right? So part of that is really being clear on the facts and putting things into perspective so that way you as a business owner can manage your own emotions through this chaotic administration. Because when I go and read the headlines, baby, I thought every school was about to close. The way like folks were pulling up where it's like you're taking what your client is saying and now painting a broad narrative that there's no money. And I'm like, that's not true. That's not true. So the second place where I wanted us to be able to anchor in is we got to operate from the belief that first off, there is always money to be made. Always. So the belief that there's not money to be made to live in the most wealthiest country of the United States of America and to believe that there isn't money to be made, like straight up work of the enemy, right? So just because you had 2 clients who said they don't have the budget to jump to this extreme of I'm terrified, like their money is being slashed, and it's like, hold up, pump the brakes, slow down a little bit, slow down. Money has not been eliminated. It just shifted, right? So part of this is being really anchored in this belief of what's happening right now. What's happening is that funding and money didn't disappear. It's shifting. So that's like belief number 1 that we talked through is like, you got to be anchored and sustained in this chaotic administration, because we're revisiting a conversation that I went live and talked about 5 months ago. And this administration is so chaotic that there will probably be another headline next week around education. You cannot be dictated by the headlines, right? And again, not saying that things aren't shifting, not saying that people aren't having certain realities, conversations. I'm just saying you need to be anchored. Thing number 2 is money isn't disappearing, it's shifting. Okay? And again, to be clear on the headline, people are naming a narrative of there's no money when the headline is funding is paused. Now, clearly you can't spend paused money, but I'm not jumping to the conclusion that there isn't money. So that's like thing number 2 is you got to be clear on the facts. There is power and life and death in the tongue. You got to be really clear to speak from the facts and understand the facts to be able to have the most accurate narrative, because fear will cause you to exaggerate the facts, right? So that's thing number 2. Thing number 3, if you're just joining us, we're having a family meeting because the past like 24 to 48 hours, I've gotten conversations, DMs, posts, all the things about this administration and their decision to pause $6 billion of funding to education. And we're talking about it. We're having a conversation from a business owner standpoint, an education consultant perspective. We're talking about it. So the third thing where I'm going to spend a few minutes here, and then I'm going to go to dinner. I'm going to go about my day, right? And you're going to go about your day too. You process, do what you need to do. And you might need to sleep on it. You might need to pray on it, right? But then we're going to go about our day. Thing number 3 is some of the fear that you're experiencing or the angst that you're experiencing is being multiplied or compounded because you've built a house of straw. Okay? So let's go back to 3 Little Pigs. Okay? If you know the story of the 3 Little Pigs, drop a 1 in the chat. The 3 Little Pigs and Goldilocks, which, if you get too deep in the story, I feel like it's a story about equity and justice, but, we'll save that for a whole nother day. But the story of the 3 Little Pigs, where one built a house out of straw, another built a house out of sticks, and then the third built a house out of bricks. So then came along the big bad wolf, and it went first to the first little pig's house of straw. The wolf huffed and puffed and blew the house down of straw. Then the wolf went to the house built of sticks, huffed and puffed and blew down the house of sticks. Then the wolf went to the house of bricks, huffed and puffed, but ain't nothing happened. House still standing. He tried again, huffed and puffed. House ain't flinch. House ain't move because the house is built from bricks. The house has a steady foundation. The house won't be shaken simply because a big bad wolf is huffing and puffing outside. So I say that because some of you all have angst because your business is a house of straw. You don't post content. You're relying on referrals. You're not actively marketing. You don't have your systems built in together. It takes you forever to send a proposal. You're late sending invoices. So now when the big bad wolf, i.e. the Trump administration, is outside pausing funding, all of a sudden your house starting to fall down. But it had nothing to do with the big bad wolf. It actually had to do with the fact that you made a house of straw. So I say that because part of what happens in this type of market and these market conditions that are shifting and changing, administration makes one decision this day and then changes their mind, and then something's unconstitutional, so it comes back. When things are so dynamic in this way to where things are constantly changing, the things you could get away with that were not tight will now be leaks in your business. So the fact that you are a secret and you haven't been marketing, and so you've been just coasting with the same 2 or 3 clients, and now all of a sudden when those 2 or 3 clients said they don't have the budget, now, yeah, you do feel a level of angst because more than half of your clients say they don't have the budget, when the reality is you got a little settled. Because if you had 10 clients versus 3, your business doesn't take the same hit. Or because your business is a secret, you don't post post content, you don't talk about your business, you don't generate emails, or you generate emails but you don't communicate to your list, or you have an idea but you don't actually follow through with the idea. You have the new offer that you want to test and pilot, but you let fear overtake you actually moving. You got a house of straw. So some of the angst that I see people moving from actually has nothing to do with this administration. It has everything to do that you have a weak foundation in business, and now that weak foundation is being exposed when the administration pauses funding. Because you haven't been marketing to have backup clients, to have other people you could be pitching to. You've gotten complacent relying on referrals. So yeah, now your foundation is starting to shake. So I say that because the opportunity that now is being presented is you have an opportunity to evolve. The response to what's happening in the marketplace shouldn't be for you to shrink. It shouldn't be for you to crawl up in a ball in the corner. And if you cry, ain't nothing wrong with crying. Have your moment. You know what I'm saying? And then bounce back and remember who you are. That there is a destiny and calling on your life. You weren't given this business for the sake of just having a business. Like there is a divine calling of why you birthed the business. And so now it's time to think about what might this shift in the marketplace be requiring you to do that you've been avoiding. Because now is the time where you cannot afford to have no marketing strategy or weak marketing strategy. And some of you all are posting, but if ain't nobody hearing and seeing your voice, if you just posting static images, which is just a flyer or a photo, but you don't have any reels, you don't have any short or long form content, that's a problem. So this is the marketplace that will require you to evolve your business. And you know best what that evolution needs to look like. You might have to evolve your marketing strategy. Your marketing strategy could be either how you define your target audience. It might be your marketing message. It might be how you develop and post content. You might have to evolve your offers. Maybe you need a micro offer because you need a trust building offer that better upsells people into the $10, $20, $30, $50,000 offer. Maybe you need to start with a $2 to $5K offer. We call those micro offers, right? So maybe you need to evolve. Maybe you need to give yourself permission to finally launch the thing that you've been sitting on and you've been waiting to do or fear told you not to do, right? Maybe you might need to pivot in this marketplace. You might pivot from B2B to B2C or B2C to B2B. You might pivot in your funding sources. Maybe you've only been serving schools and school districts, but now you want to pivot to higher ed. Maybe now you want to pivot to nonprofits. Maybe now you want to pivot to corporations. Maybe now you want to pivot to education organizations. Maybe now you want to pivot to being grant funded. So the belief that your business is going to crumble because of one headline is an act of scarcity. It is a tool of the enemy. So we cannot afford as a people for the sky to fall every time there's a new headline by this administration. And the reason why I can say this so clearly and why I'm not shaken by it. Now, if you would have talked to me maybe 3 to 5 years ago, I can't say confidently that I would have been able to talk to you from this place. But the reason why I can speak so confidently and not be shaken by the headline is I'm very clear on who I am, whose I am, and where I come from. I'm very clear that this marketplace requires creativity and innovation, and creativity and innovation is ancestral. I come from a people who are creative and innovative, and it's also divine. I was made by a creator who lives within me, right? So this is Armour season. This is anchored season. This is, you cannot just be on the sidelines and be a passive observer of your business. This is building season. This is getting community season. And for real, the people who are most shaken in this season, most shaken, I'm not saying only shaken, but the people who are most shaken are people who are not in community. And they ain't got nobody else to talk to about it. Right? So I say this because this is my invitation to each and every one of you to get in community, and the starting place and entry place for that community could be my 7-figure business school that's happening in just a couple of weeks. If you know you need community, and maybe you don't, if you don't, that's fine. But if you do, I would love for you to join us. We kick off on July 14th. And if you are not registered, it's completely free to register. All you got to do is comment the word school in the comments. I'll send you the link to register. I teach live for 5 days. And I think what's most powerful about the experience, it allows you to be in community with other mission-driven, focused business owners who just so happen to have served kids in communities through working in schools. This is a time where you cannot afford to do it on your own. This is the time where you have got to be anchored in community. You have got to be connected to a source and be community. All right. So if you just joined us, I will post the replay so that way you can watch the replay if you missed it. Give me one quick second. I'm going to respond to a text. If you have been joining us this entire time, go ahead and let me know in the comments one takeaway you have. What's one takeaway? What's one takeaway you have? Come on, those who don't think they need community are the ones who need it the most. And low key, and I'm not saying this to call anybody out, but I'm like, the folks who are feeling the angst the most, who are DMing me, I'm like, you're not in our community. I mean, you a part of the community. You always going to be a part of the community, but you are not formally proximate to community. Right? So I'm like what is the antidote to chaos? What's the antidote to an unqualified administration that is unstable? The antidote is not, let me go back home and create a spreadsheet of a plan. I mean, that's one step. But the antidote is you've got to be so deep and entrenched in community that the values and messages of the community are louder than the headlines. And if that is not your reality, you need to pull up to the business school. So just comment the word school. We'll send you the link so that way you can join us. My girl Carrie says it's time to innovate. Karen says you can't move out of fear. Hey, Karen girl. Colossal Community says not to be shaken. And let me tell you, entrepreneurship to me is a faith journey. And for real, listen, I mind my business. If it ain't about me, I ain't got time for it. And I don't know how someone can be an entrepreneur and not be spiritually grounded and have a spiritual practice. I'm like, I don't know how somebody can do that. Like, I cannot wrap my head around how you can go through something as complex and layered and as spiritually, intertwined with the journey without having some type of spiritual practice. So if you do not have a daily spiritual practice, this is the time to define it. And that could be as simple as reading a devotional every day. I'll go to one of my favorite devotionals is Believing Bigger by Marshawn Evans Daniel, one of my favorites. Listening to sermons. Listen, even if you can't make it to the house, you could log into the house. Okay, go to YouTube, get you a sermon. Praise and worship. What does it look time to be grounded, to be able to remind yourself of the promises? Remind yourself that you didn't come this far for him to leave you. Remind you that if he takes care of the birds and the stars in the sky, he's going to take care of you. To remind yourself that he who said that he will do it, it will be done. Right? You got to consistently remind yourself of that. And it is a daily practice. You cannot afford in this season to do it once a week or monthly, right? So hopefully that's helpful. I post the replay. Give me a couple minutes here. I'll go ahead and upload it. Tag your friends, tag your people. If you've had anybody who's, after this live, they started to share some of the same fears, share this live with them and share with them about the business school. I look forward to seeing y'all there. And we are in this together, friends. We're in this together. So I will chat with you soon. For my folks who are here in Miami, I'm super excited to see you on Saturday for the tour stop. And let's keep moving. Let's keep building. Let's put our armor on and stay anchored. I'll talk to y'all soon. Bye now.